So, guys, for months we've been talking about Brandon Aiyuk possibly landing with the Commanders, a guy who wanted this exact situation, and the front office actually had real interest in making it happen. But now, something happened on Brandon Aiyuk's side that's kind of a final nail in the coffin. I'm going to break down exactly what he did now, what it means for the Commanders, and why I believe we might shut down this conversation entirely. What's up, Commanders Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Commanders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Okay, now let me start with what Brandon Aiyuk actually did. So, a couple of days ago, Jayden Daniels went to watch Spain versus Austria FIFA World Cup game. And out of nowhere, a 49ers fan passed some cheap comments on Brandon Aiyuk, and Daniels basically ignored with a laugh. When Aiyuk saw this clip, he immediately went to social media and did what he always does. He unfollowed Daniels on Instagram, and then he posted a video, and this time he wasn't going after the 49ers. He went after Jayden Daniels, the same Jayden Daniels he's been trying to team up with for months. The same quarterback who was supposed to be his ticket out of San Francisco and into Washington. And instead of building that bridge, man, he lit it on fire. In the video, Aiyuk doesn't even call him by name. He refers to him just by his jersey number, and the whole message is him asserting that he's a grown man, that nobody, including Daniels, is going to tell him what to do or set rules for him. It's not a joke, it's not a banter between two guys who respect each other, it's him drawing a hard line and basically saying, back off, mind your business, I don't answer to you. Then he doesn't stop there. He tags Daniels directly in a follow-up post, and it's a taunt, basically telling him to bring more energy, to stop laughing it off and actually step up. It reads like a guy who isn't just venting once and moving on. He's escalating it, making sure the message lands a second time in case it didn't the first. It is not the energy of a guy trying to recruit his quarterback. It is the energy of a guy burning a bridge in real time. And then, just when you think this thing is fully blown up, Aiyuk turns around and posts again, and the tone completely flips. Now he's telling Daniels, let's run it, let's see what happens, saying he wants him to be available the whole season and that he'll do the same on his end. So, within basically one sitting, he goes from putting Daniels in his place to trying to recruit him all over again like none of it happened. That's not somebody working through a real thought process. That's somebody reacting in the moment 3 different times, 3 different tones, and none of it lines up. Now, I know some of you are going to say, okay, this is just Aiyuk being Aiyuk. He's passionate, he's a competitor, why are we making a big deal out of this? And honestly, I get that reaction. My first instinct too was, is this really that serious? Is one video really going to change anything? But then you sit back and you actually think about who he just went after. This isn't some random cornerback talking trash. This is Jayden Daniels. This is the guy he has been name-dropping for months as the reason he wants to be in Washington. This is his old teammate from Arizona State. If he's willing to go this hard at the one player who's actually in his corner, what does that tell you about how he handles things when adversity actually shows up in a locker room? That's the part that should concern anybody thinking about bringing him in. And I haven't even gotten to the craziest part yet, because this isn't just my read on it. There are actual reporters connected to this situation who have been saying the exact same thing for weeks now. Andrew Brandt came right out and said it. He pointed out that Aiyuk is out here making videos basically begging the 49ers to cut him, going after the front office, going after his own agent, going after the NFLPA. And then talking about wanting to sign with the Commanders in the same breath. And his question was simple. Do you really think Adam Peters, do you really think anybody in that Commanders building wants a piece of that? When you frame it like that, it's hard to argue with him. Now, you can't talk about Brandon Aiyuk without talking about the numbers. In 2023, he put up 1,342 yards on 75 catches with 7 touchdowns. That's a true number 1 receiver season, the kind of production that helped the 49ers reach the Super Bowl. Nobody is questioning talent. The conversation is about everything around football. Then 2024 happens. He tears his ACL, MCL, and meniscus. Instead of that being the story, what happened after becomes the story. He didn't show up for rehab. The 49ers voided the remaining guaranteed money on the 4 years, $180 million extension he'd signed that August. In December, he stopped showing up to the facility altogether and landed on the reserve, left team list. This isn't just a frustrated guy. This is a guy who walked away from his own team, lost guaranteed money, and is now torching the one player who was supposed to be his way out. And it's not just this one video. Go back further, remember the clip where he made clear he wasn't showing up to file for reinstatement or report to camp. That was already a red flag. This wasn't someone quietly working through a bad situation. This was someone broadcasting frustration to the world, one video at a time, each one making his footing worse. Now look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend Aiyuk doesn't have a real grievance somewhere in all of this. Getting hurt and then feeling like your own team is trying to squeeze out of paying you, that's a legitimate frustration for any player. I understand why there's real anger there, but there's a difference between having legitimate grievance and handling it like this, posting constantly, dragging your own potential future quarterback into it, flipping from insults to recruitment in the same breath. That's not somebody managing a bad situation. That's somebody making it worse every single day. And that's exactly why John Lynch has already made it clear that Aiyuk is done in San Francisco. That part isn't really in question anymore. The real question, the one we actually care about here, is whether any of this behavior makes Washington more or less likely to actually go get him if he does get released. But there's actually one more detail in all of this that I think changes the entire read on whether Washington even considers it. Because Nicki Jhabvala already laid out exactly what it would take for the Commanders to even consider this. She said if the 49ers release him before training camp, Washington could still think about it, but they would have to feel incredibly confident that he's fit both physically and emotionally. Emotionally. That word matters right now more than it ever has. Because based on what we just watched him do to his own quarterback target, does that sound like a guy anybody feels confident about emotionally? I don't think it does. And here's the thing people are missing, though. The Commanders don't need this. They already have a young quarterback in Jayden Daniels who's building real chemistry with the guys already in that building. Think about what they're actually working with right now. Terry McLaurin is still the guy in that room. Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, Van Jefferson, Treylon Burks, Diami Brown. That's a young, developing group that's being built with intention. They don't need outside noise. They don't need a receiver who might turn on a teammate the same way he's turned on his own franchise. And now, with Aiyuk publicly going after the exact guy he wanted to play with, why would Washington sign up for that risk? Why would any front office want a locker room presence like this? Because they wouldn't. Not with a rookie quarterback who's still establishing his own leadership in that building. And this isn't even just a hunch on my part. Reports have already started piling up saying the Commanders are cooling off completely. There's chatter out there that people close to the building have flat out said Washington is out on Aiyuk. Now look, I'm not going to pretend every single report out there carries the same weight. Some of these come from smaller accounts, and you have to take that with a grain of salt. But when you stack it up against what Andrew Brandt is saying, what Nicki Jhabvala is saying, and now what Aiyuk himself is doing on camera, the picture becomes pretty clear on its own. So, if this were purely about talent, it'd be an easy call. A receiver with 2023 level production is worth chasing under almost any circumstance. But this isn't about talent anymore. It's about fit, mentality, whether you're bringing in a difference maker or a distraction. And with every post, Aiyuk is answering that question for every team, including the one he actually wants. And you know what? The same logic applies to Stefon Diggs. He's made it known he'd welcome a shot in Washington. But it's one-sided, the Commanders haven't moved, and if they wanted him, he'd already be there. So, if this front office isn't even biting on Diggs, why would they go get a receiver currently torching his own future quarterback in public? It doesn't add up. Dan Quinn and Adam Peters didn't build this thing by chasing drama. They chase fit. They've been patient with this roster on purpose, and a receiver going after his own quarterback target in public is exactly the kind of thing this regime avoids. That's not a knock on Aiyuk's talent. That's just who Peters is as a decision maker. So where does that leave Washington? Watching from a distance. Not chasing him, not reaching out. Jayden Daniels doesn't need this variable in his locker room, not after everything he's already built on his own. The Commanders have their guys, their identity. The last thing they need is someone else's chaos. This was never about whether Aiyuk can play. We know he can. It's about whether he can be trusted to walk into a new building and be a good teammate instead of a headline. Going after the one guy who was actually in his corner? That trust isn't there. Maybe not for a long time. That's where I'm at with it, Commanders Nation. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because we talk Commanders every single week and you do not want to miss what's coming next. Hail to the Commanders.